1999. There are about around 40-some thousand people currently incarcerated. Now, at the same time, crime has also gone down, and I want you to keep that in mind. And what we have now is several thousand empty prison beds, and I'll let some people, young people, speak first about what the issue is right now in terms of the empty prison beds that are available. Hello.
Senator Oppenheimer.
How are you? Nice to meet you. I'm Dawi Getachew. Nice to meet you. We're from the Drop the Rock Coalition. We're here.
Hi, Senator. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy to.
How come there's like over about 600,000 empty prison beds? What can't y'all do?
Speak up.
6,000 empty prison beds, and y'all spending so much funding in the prisons, and like he said, the crime rate has went down. Like, can't you, even though y'all put so much money, can't y'all just convert the prisons into something else, or do something?
I didn't know that there were empty beds because we're planning on closing another 4 prisons, in addition to the ones that we closed in the last budget. So I didn't know that we had empty beds anymore. I assumed we had gotten rid of them. But my thinking is when we close a prison, it should be made into a special use. For example, those prisoners who have mental illness, those prisoners in another closed prison, maybe those prisoners that have addiction problems. So yeah, I agree with you that they can utilize those spaces for definite need. We know a lot of the people in prison, a good number, have mental health issues.
Absolutely. There's a
We know
huge population.
Yeah. So why not try and help them?
Okay, I have a question. I feel like what I'd like to know is why not, as opposed to like maybe incarceration, like open up some programs. I know throughout the city a lot of programs have closed down, drug programs, community center programs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So since like the prison population is downsizing, maybe they could take some of that money and push it to, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the city only. I mean, throughout the whole New York State, as opposed to incarceration, maybe open more drug rehab programs where people have a second chance. I mean, not only with addiction, with, with the thrill of, I guess, selling drugs.
Exactly.
As an additional.
No, that's something I've always been very strongly supportive of, which is called alternatives to incarceration. Right. And I'm there, have always been there. I think prison is the last place you want to put people in.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to change behavioral habits. Though actually, I helped to fund education in prison in Ossining and Bedford Hill, and we have seen big changes with education. So, very often when the prisoner gets out, they have a skill or they have a learning. Many of them have even managed to get master's degrees in prison. So that works very well when they come out because then there's no recidivism. It's below single digit. I mean, it's like 3% recidivism.
Right.
Whereas without the education, it's something like 70% recidivism.
I'm sorry, one more question. Are you aware that they closed down the college program in prison? The free education?
That got closed in 1992. It was available to everybody in prison up to that time. The Pataki administration, against my strong appeal, and my girlfriend Velma at Montgomery, she and I we had a dog and pony show where we had these wonderful charts that showed if you have a junior high education, this is your recidivism. If you have a high school education, if you have a college education. So we were showing them that you could almost close the prisons if everybody had education.
Right, yeah.
So, but the Pataki administration was not interested in our presentation. So that's when you lost education in prison. Then, starting about, a few years later, not too many, we started with some residents who lived around the Bedford Hills prison, the maximum security prison for women.
Yeah.
They said, let's try and raise some funds and see if we can start some kind of education in the women's prison. So that was maybe 1995. So that was when I stepped in and tried to help them with member item money so that they could start a program. And it's a very successful program and a very hard program. I looked at some of these courses. I don't think I could take them. They were very hard. But then we moved that over to Ossining, and we started that a couple of years after that, so maybe later 90s. And now we have a very good sized program in education there. And it's slowly catching on at other individual prisons, but there is no state money in it.
Yes.
Right, and that's really where we came here to push, because with the empty prison beds, and this is Doc's statistic, there are about 6,300 empty prison beds as of now. Now, with the governor's cuts or closing down these prisons, that will go down. But we still have a significant thousands of beds that are still open, and each of them costs $55,000 a year to maintain. And with a total, that comes out to be $320 million a year for New York State. And these are empty prison beds. Now, you talk about these great programs that you've worked so hard for the past, 2 decades, and, you just say there's no state money. So one of the reasons we're here is really to push for closing down these empty prisons and really reinvest in programs that exist, that we know that work, that we really need to push for. And it's politically dangerous to close down prisons. There's a lot of opposition, but really at the end of the day, you've seen what works. You just yourself mentioned the recidivism rates. So we really think that closing down these beds is a great step to save money and to really reinvest in programs that actually work.
And these programs do work because, and I'm sure you'll say what you have to say, but I work at Bailey House in East Harlem, and we have a lot of people who get out of jail, whether they're on parole or not on parole, and they come over and they get serviced by the programs that we have in the community, but we'd like to have more money so we can service more people.
Right.
And we pray that more money gets into the parole system so that way there's more parole officers that can help out people on parole rather than pick and choose and try to violate them. Maybe help them out. Well, you get a violation here, but you know what? Let's work on your positives.
Right. Exactly. Like throwing people back in prisons because they violate some tiny section that doesn't have anything to do with crime.
And then right back in after they do all that hard work to get out.
Yeah, and I'm a witness to, because I've 15 years in recovery, and I was in jail quite a bit, me and my brothers, and I was coming through, I was coming through Harlem, and they closed my old program, Reality House. It's closed, and it broke my heart, because
It was so important to you.
it was so important, and it's so important to the community, and that a place like that would close that saved my life, and that works. You know what I mean? It does work, and sometimes people just need a little help. My brother Robert, most of his life was spent in jail, but 10 years ago, with the help of a little support and, this program where I was able to kind of help and guide him because it had helped me so much. And now, he has 10 years now, he's a productive member of society,
Oh.
and somebody who was,
That's a nice
you
ending.
know, and so,
I'm going to have to leave.